breaks. So as you can see, just at the national park, Lane Cove National Park, and camping. There's my tent there. That's just lovely. Yeah. So the storm, which was kind of brewing earlier today, I think it sort of passed. It did rain a bit, but it didn't sort of end up in lightning and thunder and heavy rain. It kind of passed. But I think a couple of days time, there could actually be there could be a thunderstorm. So will the tent hold up? I don't know. It's certainly better than a Kmart tent that I had in the US. That got completely flooded. It got flooded to the extent that there was water almost half full in the tent, and even outside the tent, it was completely flooded. So I had to make almost an emergency evacuation on the final morning. I left the whole tent there, packed my stuff, and then I then went to the sort of the shelter, and then almost just kind of ran to the bus and moved to the next place. So yeah, it kind of was a little bit extreme, but since then, yeah, I actually got a pretty good tent now. I got this from Anaconda, and it's a solid. It's a 2-person tent. Now the problem is I couldn't get the tent pegs in properly, because it's a hard ground and I don't have a mallet, and that's generally the case. I mean, you can see here. I mean, if you can see sort of the pegs there that they're just not in properly, and that can be a problem. Yeah, particularly if there's strong wind, the tent pegs can actually and if you don't have tent pegs, it's a problem. The whole thing can blow over. In fact, if you don't have any weight in the tent, so yeah, you want to put your tent pegs in. But yes, ideally you get a tent that doesn't require tent pegs. It's sort of I mean, you have to put tent pegs in too, so it doesn't blow away. But the thing will you can put the tent up just based on the pole. So depending on the design, and you may just have to spend a bit of money. You may have to spend, I don't know, maybe $500 for a good solid 2-person tent. But yeah, but look, at the worst case, there is a shelter. In fact, there is a McDonald's, 24/7 McDonald's, Lane Cove Road. I could even go there. Even at the university, there's also shelter. In fact, I can even get Wi-Fi at the university. In fact, you can get Wi-Fi at McDonald's as well, but it's limited. So yeah, and once I get Wi-Fi, I can. Then again, I've got coverage on my phone, obviously, through Telstra, which is pretty much unlimited. The amount of data which I'm using. So yeah. Now I was looking at this problem. I was looking at the Freud. The Freud theory of, I don't know. He talks about the id, he talks about the ego, and he talks the ego and the super ego, and I can't remember now, but I'm gonna have to look into this, and I think it's quite interesting, and because it does relate to the I guess the subtle body, and of course the subtle body is the mind, intelligence, and ego, and ego is false ego and real ego. So is the Freudian id ego superego, or is the id, say, somewhat equivalent to intelligence? Is, say, the ego equivalent to false ego, and is this superego equivalent to real ego? I'm gonna have to look into it, but I think that's what he was, sort of getting at. But he doesn't talk about the mind in terms of the subtle body. So he obviously discusses a lot about the mind, but not in relation. And he does talk about consciousness, a conscious or consciousness. So yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to see how that relates. And in fact, it's really ego which drives the intelligence, which actually drives the mind. So the mind is not the most critical. It's actually the ego, and what you want is real ego. And to get real ego, you need spiritual consciousness, which of course is coming from the super soul, which is the peace of God inside of us. And so everything is obviously going to be driven through God. And how do you achieve that? Or spiritual consciousness? Well, you do you carry out a yoga process but not just a yoga process. You ideally want to carry out all yoga processes. And that's where people become undone. They stick with just this one process. And what they talk about Bhakti Yoga, well, what is Bhakti Yoga? Well, essentially Bhakti Yoga is everything. And so in order to obtain everything, you need to be doing everything. And that's what I think most people don't quite understand. And yeah, and so yes, you come back to the fundamentals: vegetarian diet, no alcohol, etc., no coffee. And obviously understand knowledge, or the Gita, or essentially, all knowledge, but in particular the Gita. And then you go into Hatha Yoga, which is yoga in the gym, and then you go into a puja or Buddha Yoga, and then Jnana Yoga, which is knowledge. And so yeah, it's really doing everything. And then you look at, say, devotional work, by propagating the knowledge, or by a foundation, or or karma. Sorry, I've got to mention Karma Yoga, which is typically our working lives. But the work you're doing needs to be in say, God consciousness. There's not much good, going on bar serving alcohol and trying to make a living. That is not that is not yoga. So yeah, you can see what I'm sort of getting at. But and again, to obtain these results, we're not talking overnight or even a couple of years. We're probably talking the order of probably at least 7 years, or maybe anywhere in between 10 to 11 years. But you get the results, and the results are significant. Now on the tennis front, I don't know. I haven't sort of looked at the tennis. But what I'm planning to do is, I spoke to a colleague. I may give up this idea of trying to write 4 books. Just the fact that I can't even really get one book complete. So I'm just going to focus on this one book, and of course that's going to be the mathematics of tennis, and that's what I started doing post PhD. PhD, yes, was on the mathematics tennis, but I'm looking to extend this. And in terms of the applications, I'm going to look at predictions, and there's a number of applications in predictions. There's of course multimedia, and again, I've worked for a multimedia company, and also so what is multimedia? Yeah, so multimedia is the information which you display through the various graphics, or whether it's sound, or whether the way that the audience interact with with the calculator, or the various software which you provide. And yes, you can have predictions, but you can also have, you can define your own predictions by choosing certain parameters. And so and so yes, that's just one aspect. But there's also education, building your own spreadsheet calculator. There's also, I guess, the gambling aspect, in terms of, and I guess, yes, there's gambling for the punter, but there's also gambling for the bookmaker, and you actually treat that separately. So I've worked for various bookmakers, and in terms of gambling myself, not really in betting, just due to the fact that I've worked for bookmakers, so I didn't really need to do my own gambling. But yes, I set up a syndicate in video poker, and of course played blackjack in my early days. Will I document that? I don't know. Yes, I was going to write a book on gambling or favourable risk-taking games, but yeah, I just want to focus on getting this one book done on mathematics of tennis, and of course with the different applications. And I guess the most important application is scoring systems, and that's what we're looking at. Is this 50-40 game? Can we get this 50-40 game implemented? Well, I don't know. It's obviously going to take time. Certainly there has been changes made over there are no more classical sets. There are only tiebreak sets. Also in doubles on the main tour, they play a no-ad game and a final set, tiebreak, or first to 10. So first to 10 or first to 16? No, first to 16 point. I think first to 16. I have to check that, but it's essentially a tiebreak game as the final set, deciding set. And also in mixed doubles, play the deuce game, but they play a deciding final set. So there's actually 4 systems. There used to be about 10. They now got that down to 5, and they don't play a first to 10 tiebreak game at the Australian. I think they've moved. So all the Grand Slams are consistent now. They used to have a different scoring system for each Grand Slam, and they're now consistent, and there is no advantage set. So what we're looking to bring in is the 50-40. The serve wins a standard 4 points. Receiver only wins 3 points, and at most you only play 6 points in the game. So there is no juice. At 40-30, the next point wins. And that's very good. Yes, you can play the no-ad game, but the 50-40 game is more efficient, and you reduce the length there more, on average of about 45 minutes in a best of 5 compared to around about 22 in a best of 3. And the beautiful thing about the 50-40 is you can play the final advantage set, which you can't do in the playing the no-ad or the juice game. And what's the idea behind that is you'll then encourage the top players to play in doubles and even mixed doubles. And the women are typically playing in doubles, but they could also play mixed doubles. And also on the main tour, they could also play doubles as well as singles. So it's got many benefits. The 50-40, so to change to the no-ad would to me would be a waste of time. Might as well just go straight to the 50-40, and that's what we're looking to document in this book on the mathematics of tennis. So, okay, yeah, this is the turkey I was referring to. I have to. Hang on. Oh no, I have to get down and. Yeah, that's the turkey. Yeah, you get a lot of these turkeys in the national park. So it's just ripping at this piece of, what is it? Paper? No, I think that's actually a bit of bread, a bit of kind of I don't know, what is it? Sort of Lebanese bread, I think. Yeah, I don't think it's paper. I think it's bread, and just kind of ripping into it. Which kind of makes sense. Which is why you don't want to leave food out if you're ever camping. It's just not a good idea to leave food out, because it'll just get attacked by various wildlife, as you can see. And just taking a closer look at this, the national park. This is sort of on the back of the national park, and it's pretty good, isn't it? And there's a lot of walks you can do into the national park. I've done some walks. You can go kayaking on the river. I've done kayaking. And you can see that's the other. It's a pretty big a caravan park, and it's pretty much full. And there's a camp kitchen, which is good. It's even got a fridge. In fact, I got my stuff at the locker, so I've got a kitchen in my locker. I've also got a conference room. I booked the conference room for tomorrow morning at 8:30, so I can just work out at the conference room. I mean, yes, I could go into the university, but in fact, I don't think the university is open. No, it wouldn't be open at 8:30. The university, I don't think. I'll have to check on that, because it is O week this week. So yes, I was out at O week, and it was just really hot. So I was like standing in the sun. It was so hot. But I'm going to go to it's Ash Wednesday tomorrow. So the Catholics are having I don't know, is it mass, or they're having a service for Ash Wednesday. So I'm going to go to that. Now, in terms of the Labor pub crawl, I don't know. I'll just see exactly. I might find out a bit more about it tomorrow. Now, I found out about the 2SCR. I was going to do which is this community radio, where I could do my tennis commentary, and I don't know. They didn't really like the idea when I mentioned, I want to mention I've got this segment, the Barron Breaks. Well, I don't know. They've got their own segment, and there could be some conflicting interest about talking about the Barron Breaks, or having my YouTube channel streamed at the same time. I don't think that's possible. But it reaches a large audience. We're talking 60,000, and I could potentially interview players. Ash Barty, for example. So I think it's still worth chasing up. It's just going to take time to organise. I have to do a bit of a course, and I'm sort of travelling, and I don't know how I'm going to get. I don't know. I'll work that out a little bit later, but I think it's something, because I'm not exactly getting media, if you know what I mean. I'm not really getting mainstream media. I'm having to create my own, through social media. So, and also, the Actuarial Society, I might have a touch base with them tomorrow. I don't know. I was just talking to a few other sort of clubs and societies there. So yeah, drop into O Week, Macquarie University. It runs all week. I think it opens, I don't know, 9 or 10 a.m. in the morning. Usually closes about 3. So yeah. Okay. Just take one last look at this turkey, and then we'll log out. In fact, it's running away. Yeah, I don't know whether you can see it there. I think you can see it there. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Just kind of getting exhausted now. So it's pretty exhausting stuff giving commentary. Like, I make it look easy, but I know it gets exhausting at the end of the day. Okay, so I'll leave it there. That was the Barron Breaks Turkey Crossing.